Welcome back to the news. It's been a while and so much has happened, so today is a bit of a quick-fire special, only the most important things that you need to know. As an example, we don't yet know what 11.2 looks like, but we do actually know when it's going to release. And it's actually the fact that we've just got a patch that makes me so confident we're about to find out about the new one. And that's because Blizzard have effectively stopped hiding their plans from us. So, 11.17 was live yesterday in the US, today in the EU. That almost certainly means the PTR for our next big patch is going to be up real soon. But with 11.17, we do have a bunch of stuff. There's the new Red Dawn story. That's one of the big ones. It's essentially setting up the Arathi stuff for the future. Then Overcharged Elves are in. They also have got a new source of borrowed power that they have actually just buffed. Lore Walking is also in, and it really is the one that's kind of the sleeper hit for me. Basically, with it, you can play through some of WoW's most important stories in a brilliant guided experience. It's really well done, and apparently they've got plans for over 30 more. And then there's the real big thing, the one-button assistant. That's going to be massive, and with all that said, we're about to find out what 11.2 is. But wait, hang on a second. I've inspected your debuffs, and you've actually got a bunch of dots on you. I'm going to fix them. Those dots are nasty recurring charges, and we're going to fix it with Rocket Money, who are today's sponsor. They make it easy, and you can actually get started for free today at rocketmoney.com/Bellular Warcraft. So, Rocket Money will securely and safely identify recurring charges for you. Then, you just cancel them in just a few taps, and they basically put the work in to make it a smooth, very fast process. So if it's the sort of chore that you've just been putting off, well, they'll help you by making it easy. And they do more as well. Rocket Money can also help you with bill negotiation. You simply upload your bill and they'll be able to help. And for one example from my own life, my internet a while ago went to its off-contract price. Now, I ended up eventually negotiating a speed upgrade and also a halving of my monthly bill. And the thing is, I could have got that months earlier, but life got in the way. And that's why having Rocket Money's team there to help you is actually a massive value. And speaking of value, they've actually cancelled over $500 million of subscriptions. That's literally money being burned for things that people didn't want. So that's actually a good. And they've helped save their customers up to $740 a year using the app's premium features. And they've got other great tools beyond what I've mentioned. So if you want to check it all out, and if you just like to spend less, save more, you can join the over 5 million Rocket Money members today using rocketmoney.com/Bellular Warcraft, or just by clicking the link below. You can start for free, check it out, and then unlock more features to save you more money with premium. And that's rocketmoney.com/Bellular Warcraft. Seriously though, here's the important thing about patch 11.2. Another round of turbulent timeways is happening, and you might think that's a non sequitur, but trust me, it isn't. This matters because it's a 6-week-long event, and it ends on August 5th. Now, every time Turbulent Timeways has been live, Blizzard have timed it perfectly where the event ends right as the next patch drops. And that almost certainly means that patch 11.2 will probably go live on the 5th of August, and currently what we believe is we'll embark on our journey to Koresh, the fallen ethereal homeworld. Honestly, pretty hype about that. I certainly wouldn't say it's unhinged speculation. I mean, just think about the final shot of patch 11.1, which pretty much just pointed at Koresh and said, you're going here next. So that patch being live on the 5th, then on the 12th, 1 week later, we would expect to get the final season of The War Within. Now, of course, I can't fully guarantee that. There's a chance something could go wrong. There's a chance that it's not Turbulent Timeways. Maybe instead it could be the Winds of Mysterious Fortune. You know, the event with the bonus XP, the bags, and renown. And actually, on the PTR calendar, it runs from July 17th until August 14th, which is a little bit weird that they're both there. Kind of unusual because it also ends on a Thursday, which is not normal, which does kind of point to me that it's just PTR stuff. But still, if that's roughly when Blizzard wants to run it, it would be Tuesday to Tuesday. That would be July 15th to August 12th. And there it is again, August 12th. Blizzard really aren't trying to hide it. That is the date, I would say, for the War Within's last big push, the last big patch. So consider this your advanced warning. Maybe don't book your time off. I think that's a bit extreme for a WoW patch. Well, certainly if I were you, I'd be thinking about what classes I want to play and that sort of thing for the next season, and using this bridge period to pretty much just get ready for that. Now, of course, 11.2 is not going to be the end of the War Within. Blizzard have already got an encrypted build of patch 11.2.5 up. It's actually on their own internal test servers. So essentially, the future never stops. My god, the amount of stuff they're shipping is kinda crazy. And while in one regard there's going to be a little bit of a pause, I actually think it's about to get a whole lot more crazy. And that perfectly brings me into our next topic. So beyond the future of modern WoW, where most of us think that after the last Titan there'll maybe be a world revamp or something, the other big question is what lies in store for Season of Discovery? Except that that's not really a question anymore. So earlier we covered how Blizzard announced that they have finished with Season of Discovery and that now they're moving on. The good news is we essentially know what they're working on next, and being real with you, I'm really excited. So last week, a new Blizzard survey made the rounds, and I would certainly say they are done being subtle. Now, I didn't literally say that Classic Plus is in the works, but they may as well have. Check this out. They're asking about a hypothetical new version of Classic. They ask what players would want to see, and here are the suggested things in the survey. Shamans and paladins on both factions, which is sure to be a little bit controversial. New spells, new abilities, modern things as well, like collection systems, also profession changes for better solo play, an account-wide progression system for alts, achievements, and they go even further. They ask if people want playable high elves, even for both factions. They ask about classic versions of modern zones like Hyjal and Gilneas, and they even talk about entirely new zones. Yes, new zones that we've never seen before. Also, new dungeons, new raids, even new classes, not existing ones backported, but completely unique new classes for Classic. Now, obviously, this is just a survey, but it does confirm the sorts of things that Blizzard actually wants to hear from their players about. And it all does point towards Classic Plus, where they're just trying to figure out what the hell it's going to look like. Luckily for them, though, they have got plenty of inspiration. And we don't talk about it that much, because honestly, if you talk about it too much, you do get a bit of a slap in the wrist from old Daddy Blizzard. But here's the funny thing. Blizzard Entertainment would not be the first people to go and make Classic Plus. They have already got so much inspiration out there because, well, Ascension and Turtle WoW. Those have obviously got loads of attention. I think Season of Discovery basically reawakened in people a desire for more of that type of World of Warcraft. And if they're looking for specific stuff, I mean, Turtle's high elf content is pretty neat looking, and I'd say with that existing and being popular, it's no coincidence the Blizzard are mentioning high elves in their survey. They know that people want that because they're playing it on Turtle. So clearly, I'd say they've been watching their competition, they've been stealing ideas, which is a little bit inherently strange. You do wonder why they don't shut down Ascension, why they don't shut down Turtle. They could absolutely do that if they wanted to, but maybe the fact that they haven't yet shows that at some point they're going to want to woo people over to their Classic Plus, and that perhaps to do that, they will need to be in with that community. And beyond even those, if you want more ideas, here are some old fan-made concepts that have been floating around for ages that are essentially expanded Classic zones where, if you're in a Classic Plus team at Blizzard, you can absolutely just go completely wild. Do new lore, new content. Some are completely fresh things, others are basically pre-Cataclysm versions of later zones, which again would be really cool to see. So the possibilities are endless. It seems like we're actually going to get Classic Plus, and that does answer a really big question. You see, for me, WoW Classic was always neat, but not exactly something I'd feel like I'd want to put a hell of a lot of time into because there'd be an expiration date. If Classic Plus exists, that's basically a commitment that there's a new type of World of Warcraft that you can play indefinitely. For so many people, that means that the time they spend in it will count a hell of a lot in the future, right? That it won't just be like playing a seasonal character in an ARPG where you throw it in the bin and just have another go again in the next season. No, if shit actually lasts, if it actually matters, then you got two World of Warcrafts running parallel in the truest sense. Next up, I'm hopping back to Modern, where we've actually got other good news. Blizzard are finally learning, it seems anyway. So, you probably noticed how every patch of the War Within has had one major problem, and that problem is fear. Blizzard being scared because everything has ended up launching in an undertuned state. I mean, just remember Cersei's Circle as one example. Maybe it could be that. It could be items are too weak, we get too little currency, and the things just aren't worth the time. And it's actually never by accident. Blizzard are afraid of making farms too quick, content too easy. They're afraid of someone getting something super powerful and then feeling really bad whenever Blizzard has got to go and nerf it. That's sort of understandable, and that means that they often intentionally have the patches launching in a rather stingy state, and then they respond to player feedback over the next few weeks. Now, you know what that means. You know that means that patch day is often kinda shit. I mean, we've been hearing this all expansion, that playing in patch day feels like a waste of time, even though obviously patch day should be the most important time, like a major time in your year as someone who plays WoW, and it hasn't felt like that. So here's where things are getting kind of interesting for the patch that's just launched. early reports showed a problem. That problem is the new borrowed power item from Delves being really weak. It's the Titan Disc Belt, and it was weak. It wasn't incredibly weak, but it wasn't the power boost that it really should have been. Or really just enough for you to want to chase it through doing loads of those delves. That's where there's good news. Blizzard actually caught this problem early, and for a change, in a hotfix just days before launch, they just went and buffed the hell out of the belt. So it used to start at Myth 8 out of 8, which was item level 684. Now, well, it starts higher than any other item in the game. So once the patch hits, if you just go and do your overcharged delves ASAP, you'll get this massive belt, and then you can power boost it all the way up to item level 701, which is bloody massive. Now, before this hotfix, the belt's unlockable powers had two really big issues. The first is they were horribly balanced, so props to the numbers team. They've actually brought them extremely close together in this fix. But then the second issue was unlocking them on alts. Yes, we've kind of been there before. Now, though, you don't have to unlock it on alts. So honestly, it's really good. This is a patch day that won't feel like a waste. You can log in, you can do the refresh delves, you can pick up a chunky upgrade, and you can do all of that, touch wood, without wondering if it'll just be better to wait until next week. Very much on the opposite end, we've got horrific visions, and if you've not done many of them yet, now really is your chance. And that's because, well, we've went through the weeks and weeks and weeks of time gating, so the full unlock tree is now available. That does include Gift of the Titans, and if you remember that from BFA, basically it was the unlock that trivialized the sanity mechanic. When it procs, you get a sanity immunity, you get tons of haste, and basically that just means it's time to go and bang out loads of 5 mask runs to get some gear, and of course 8 mask runs if you want to unlock the Mad title. So overall, yeah, good stuff. You can go and do that. However, right, the time gating this patch was heavily contentious. One thing we've noticed, though, is that Ian has been very candid in recent interviews, so I really hope he soon talks about whether this patch overdid it or not, because looking at community sentiment, people... You know that sort of time where hope and frustration, they kind of get crushed and turn into apathy? That's the feeling I got off the Horrific Visions launch when people realized about the time gating, so hopefully he addresses that soon. Lots more has happened though, so time to speedrun all the other stuff you need to know. Okay, if you've been ripping aggro because you're just such a big pumper, then do not worry, because Tank Threat just got buffed 15% overnight, which should mean you can just go back to blowing all of your cooldowns on big packs and not getting yourself killed. Finally, or at the very least, you've got a hotfix that you can link your tank whenever you're flaming them for being shit at the game. Jokes aside though, with the whole turbo boost thing and the gear scaling getting honestly kind of crazy, it does seem this is actually necessary. Basically, it's Blizzard having to do some upkeep on their numbers. It's not exactly an elegant thing, but it works, and that's really all the game needs right now. Our next topic though is completely different. So we may know quite a bit more about what the Midnight expansion is about. Now, of course, we know that it's going to be elves and void stuff, but there was always questions over the who and the what. That's sort of a mystery still, but not really as much, because a new novel description just went up. The novel is called Blood Ties, it's by Christy Golden, and it's the Midnight lead-in book. It follows Arator, who is the son of Illyria and Turalyon. He's got a very edgy new design, and he's basically following in his parents' footsteps. But here's the kicker. He's investigating remnants of the Legion that appear to be reactivating. Yes, the Burning Legion. It seems it is actually making a resurgence. Now, there's a lot of ways that could go. I very much doubt that they've just rehydrated the Burning Legion and now they're back again in exactly the same way. That would be, honestly, pretty shit, and it wouldn't really be believable. That being said, the whole point of the Burning Legion is that that was demons being bound to the will of Sargeras. Now that Sargeras is in jail, maybe some of those demons will start to get ideas of their own. Okay. Next topic then. If you want to get into Mists of Pandaria but you don't have a character, your only option was to buy a boost. But now something different's happened, because you can just play Season of Discovery instead. There's been a substantial drop-off in Season of Discovery players, about 30% since the final phase. But if you buck the trend, if you play enough to kill the Scarlet Enclave's final boss, you will get a free ramp on to Mists of Pandaria. Basically, they'll give you a level 85 boost for Kata Classic if you defeat the raid, which is honestly kind of crazy. But it's not your only option, because if you'd rather the old-fashioned way, there is good news as well. Kata has now got a 50% XP buff, and that's going to last until the Mist pre-patch arrives, which is going to be at the start of July. And overall, man, there is so much World of Warcraft right now. I've got no idea how to do it all at once. For me, that'll be a real big problem whenever Classic Plus comes, because Plus there really does matter for me. I'm thinking of like an OSRS, so... yeah, I don't know how we're supposed to play all of this World of Warcraft at once. But anyway, one thing is imminent, that is patch 11.2 news, so we're all caught up, we're ready for 11.2. Keep an eye on the channel for whenever that drops, but right now, we have an absolute doom stack of lore for you to watch. If you want to know what's up with The Last Titan, there's a 3-parter. We've just published the final episode on the Northrend revamp, so you can watch all of that now.